8 spine-chilling true tales of cursed homes. We uncovered the sinister secrets within. Clara could feel the palpable weight of the past pressing her down as she stepped into the old house. Shadows twisted in the corners, and the air felt thicker, colder. It was a charming relic, but something about it caused a shiver to race down her spine. She forced a smile as her 9-year-old daughter, Lily, skipped ahead, unaware of the doom that hung like a dark fog over their new lives. Unpacking felt more like unearthing tombs. The cracked walls seemed to whisper forgotten secrets, echoing the memories of families who might have lived and died here long ago. Initially, the neighbors brought baked goods and friendly smiles, ushering in what felt like hope. Clara poured sweet tea and forced small talk, yet a strange tension lingered. Laughter erupted too loudly at night, a joy that curdled into unsettling echoes. A chill ran down her back each time she caught the neighbors whispering, the sound vanishing when she approached the house pressed against her, urging Clara to act. She felt an overwhelming need to renovate, to breathe life back into its worn edges. Yet as she descended into the dark, cloying basement, her heart raced with dread. Hidden rooms appeared, revealing grotesque artifacts, rusted tools twisted into shapes she could barely comprehend, remnants of rituals long forsaken. The walls were daubed with scrawled messages, warnings mingled with dark symbols. The air was acrid with a sense of danger that clawed at her sanity. What had she stumbled into? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each night, odd occurrences made Clara's heart pound. Her phone buzzed with ominous calls from an unknown number, chilling her right to the bone. Muffled sounds crept under her skin and pried at her mental stability during late nursing shifts. When she briefly glanced in her rearview mirror, it wasn't just her reflection staring back. It was something deeper, something hungry. Meanwhile, Lily's imagination twisted into a nightmare. "Mom, my friend says you need to listen," she'd say with a strange seriousness that sent gooseflesh rippling down Clara's arms. Eerie drawings began showcasing dark figures lurking in their corners. No longer playful, Lily's friend morphed into a protector cloaked in shadows, a haunting presence Clara couldn't shake. Panic settled in when she confronted a particularly amiable neighbor. What Clara uncovered twisted her stomach into knots. The town was steeped in dark, blood-bound secrets, a society that thrived on hidden truths and betrayal. Clara's instinctively protective nature kicked in. She would do anything to shield Lily from the encroaching darkness. But even her thoughts raced with paranoia. She felt watched, a prisoner in her own home. It was no longer just weird, the anxiety thickened like storm clouds. Clara could feel the noose tightening. It became impossible to distinguish friend from foe. Were they really trying to help? Or silently conspiring against her? Tremors of uncertainty rolled through her. Suddenly, the creaks echoed louder, the whispers more urgent. As shadows slithering up the walls darkened, Clara's breath quickened. She knew the haunting history of Eldridge was awakening. With no refuge left, how could she protect her daughter? The malevolent stripped from the very air they breathed, a chill that left Clara gasping for the dawn, knowing night was the most dangerous time of all. As the voices outside whispered secrets only she could sense, Clara wondered if escape was even an option, or had the town already claimed them both? The night deepened, swallowing the last traces of twilight. Clara sat cross-legged at the foot of Lily's bed, the pale glow from a flickering lamp barely illuminating the room. The air felt electric, alive with dread. Lily, who had once found solace in the bedtime stories Clara shared, now sat wide-eyed, her fingers clutching a worn-out teddy bear. "Mom, I don't want to sleep," Lily's voice wavered. Her gaze darted around the room, as if shadows loomed just beyond sight. Clara could almost feel the weight of her daughter's fear wrap around her like a shroud. "Sweetheart, it's just your imagination," Clara reassured, though her own heart raced. She reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind Lily's ear, but her own hand trembled. The pulse of the house seemed to throb underfoot, a sinister thrum echoing her growing unease. As Clara tucked her daughter in, she caught a glimpse of the drawings adorning the walls. They were crude yet vivid, chaotic depictions of twisted figures and dark landscapes that spoke of nightmares rather than children's dreams. Clara resisted the urge to rip them down, but the thought of erasing Lilia's fears only made the unease twist deeper inside her. "Mom, my friend said the shadows are hungry tonight," Lily whispered, and Clara felt ice creep into her veins. "They're waiting for me." Shadows flickered from the corner of the room, stretching and contorting as the wind rattled the windows. Clara's stomach sank. "No one is waiting for you, Lily. It's just the wind." But even as she spoke, a sense of dread hung thickly in the air. Cracking sounds began to weave through the silence like whispering footsteps creeping along the floor. The phone buzzed violently on the bedside table, its screen illuminating the darkness with a harsh glow. Clara gasped as she grabbed it, the unknown number flashing ominously. She hesitated, recalling the last time she had picked up. A breathy voice had warned her, "Leave before it's too late." Suddenly, her resolve wavered. "Stay here, sweetheart." "I'll be right back," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She forced a calm demeanor, masking the panic threatening to erupt within her as she padded softly to the living room. The minute she stepped into the familiar gloom, the air thickened. Clara's instincts screamed for her to run, but her legs felt rooted to the spot. She fought the urge to lock the door behind her. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught sight of movement, a fleeting shadow, darting just beyond the doorframe. "What are you doing?" The harsh whisper sliced through the silence. Clara spun around, heart pounding. There, just outside the house, stood a figure, half illuminated by the flickering porch light. It was one of the neighbors, a gaunt man with sunken eyes filled with a frantic urgency. "Do not trust them," he hissed, his voice a desperate rasp. "The darkness is everywhere. They will come for her if you don't." His words faded into frantic panting. Clara's heart raced. Who was he? Fear snaked its way around her throat as cold realization dawned. The friendly smiles had masked something vile. "Tonight, you must leave." Before she could react, he was gone, a wraith swallowed by the night. Standing alone in her living room, Clara felt the walls close in tighter, an unseen force pressing against her until every breath became a fight. She glanced back at Lily's room, the shadows now deeper, pulsing with life. Was her daughter already ensnared by the whispers? Barely able to breathe, Clara raced back to her child's room only to find Lilia's bed empty, the covers thrown back as if someone had pulled them off in panic. "Lily!" Clara's heart thudded violently against her ribs. The house exhaled a low, mocking moan, as if it reveled in her terror. As she searched frantically, a chilling thought struck her. What if the shadows weren't just hungry for Lily? What if they were coming for Clara too? Outside, the wind howled, carrying away the last remnants of hope. Those sinister whispers crept back into her mind, drowning out reason. She had to find her daughter, but as she opened the door to Lilia's room, darkness awaited, eager to consume everything in its path. "Mom, where was that voice coming from?" As a new wave of dread washed over her, Clara realized the truth. Sometimes a home does not simply keep one safe, sometimes it demands souls. The darkness felt alive, wrapping around Clara like a suffocating blanket. She hesitated, the door frame trembling beneath her grip. "Mom?" The voice was softer now, almost a breath against the night. It beckoned from the hallway, shadowy fingers reaching out into the void. "Lily!" The name tore from her throat, urgent with a mix of fear and hope. She stepped into the corridor, her feet moving as if they had a will of their own. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of damp wood and something acrid, like smoke from a fire long extinguished. Clara strained to listen, heart thumping loudly in her ears. The house creaked inside, groaning under the weight of its own darkness. Just ahead, she saw the dim glow of a nightlight spilling from the bathroom. Panic clawed at her chest. What was Lily doing in there? She approached the door, fingers shaking, barely able to breathe. The light flickered erratically, casting ghostly shapes across the wall. "Lily?" She called again, voice trembling. No response, just the pulsing silence that seemed to throb with growing intensity. When she pushed the bathroom door open, a chill raced up her spine. The mirror reflected nothing but pale tiles and the light above flickering nervously, but no sign of her daughter. The tub was empty, water droplets hanging midair, frozen in some unseen moment. "Mom," the voice echoed again, now coming from behind her. Clara whirled around, the breath catching in her throat. Her reflection stared back, but then a deeper shadow loomed closer, an ominous form shifting in the corner of her vision. "Get out!" she screamed, but it was her own voice that traveled through the air. It was an echo, a desperate plea reverberating from someone or something lurking behind her. She rushed out into the hallway, cold panic settling like lead in her stomach. Nothing was as it seemed. Every corner of the house felt alive, thrumming with an energy that was no longer comforting. "Lily! Mom!" The voice was now frantic, a sharp note that sliced through the oppressive air. It drew her toward the kitchen. Clara hurried down the darkened corridor, legs pumping, heart racing like a terrified animal. The shadows twisted in her periphery, flickering like candles hungry for a breath of wind. As she neared the kitchen, Clara's eyes caught something shimmering on the floor, the silver handle of a little door, perfectly blending into the base of the cabinetry. What was that? She knelt, heart pounding louder as she dared to pull it open. A musty odor surged upward, a gust of cold air like the breath of something ancient and malevolent. "Come find me," Lily's voice echoed in the darkness, skimming the surface of her mind like a stone skipping across water. The sound was almost playful, but there was a tugging undercurrent of danger woven through it, an invitation laced with dread. Clara's thoughts raced. She needed to find her daughter, to pull her away from whatever wickedness had crept into their lives. With narrowed determination, she slipped her hand inside the opening. It was dark, too dark. As her fingers brushed the smooth surface of an object deep within, a sensation of wrongness washed over her, a feeling that clawed at her skin. She hesitated, the darkness growing thicker around her, whispering, "Mom, hurry!" The tone was different now, urgent. Clara's heart leaped. "Hold on, baby." She yanked the door wider, panic-fueled strength surging through her. But what awaited her inside? What unthinkable entity had taken her daughter? The shadows lurched forward, eager, hungry. In the sanctity of the kitchen, the world around her began to shift. The walls seemed to breathe, drawing near as if gathering strength, and Clara felt the pull. Something far deeper than fear, something primal and unseen was beckoning her into the dark abyss. What lay beyond the threshold? What secrets clamored to be revealed? As the walls closed in, the reality of her choice loomed: follow the whispers and confront the shadows, or become one with them. "Lily!" She tore her gaze away, steeling herself against the encroaching darkness. Time was slipping away, but for what price? Clara's hand trembled as she clutched the door handle, pulling it further open, revealing a dark passageway that seemed to stretch into infinity. The air tasted stale and thick, a mixture of mold and the coppery tang of fear. She felt herself teetering on the edge, suspended between the known and the unknowable. "Lily!" The word came out less like a command now and more like a desperate prayer. The shadows writhed, and a faint laughter echoed from within the darkness, a chilling sound that made her skin crawl. It was her daughter's voice, but twisted and wrong, like a marionette laughing at the strings that bound it. "Mom, come play." The voice sang out, mocking in its innocence. Clara stepped inside the corridor, heart racing. Each step echoed eerily, a cruel reminder that she was utterly alone. The darkness seemed to breathe, drawing closer with each moment she lingered. Shivers scuttled up her spine as she stumbled forward, compelled by a force she couldn't see. The corridor split into two paths, each shrouded in inky blackness. Instinctively, her eyes focused on the sliver of light flickering at the end of the left tunnel. It radiated warmth, but the shadows writhed anxiously around it, whispering secrets she dared not hear. "Lily, I'll find you," she called into the void, trying to summon any hint of courage. The light pulsed rhythmically, growing brighter, then dimmer, as if responding to her presence. Clara hesitated, weighing the options in her trembling mind. Left to the light or right where the shadows danced, whispering promises of forgotten dreams. From the right corridor came a soft sound, an invitation masked as a threat. "Mom, I'm waiting." The chilling pull of that voice set every nerve in her body on edge. She felt something wet and cold brush against her ankle, like a hand without a body. A rush of adrenaline surged through her, filling her with dread. "No!" she gasped, yanking her foot away and backpedaling. The shadows recoiled with a hiss, as if wounded, deepening the darkness around her. Clara squared her shoulders. She had to make a choice. The laughter faded into a haunting echo that twisted her resolve. She needed her daughter. Moving toward the light felt like the right path, but the shadows offered promises of answers. Summoning all her courage, Clara bolted into the left corridor, hands outstretched in the dim light. Her heart raced, the blood pounding in her ears, drowning out everything else. The walls closed in, or maybe it was just Clara's mind creating horror as she ran. Suddenly, she slipped, falling hard onto the cool tiled floor. Pain shot through her legs, but it was quickly overshadowed by the icy touch creeping up her spine. Her breath hitched as she glanced back. The door she had just come through was now sealed. An outline of shadow pulsed at the edges, like it was alive and breathing, waiting for her to scream. "Mom! Help me!" Lily's voice filled the air, saturated with fear and loneliness. Clara scrambled to her feet and pressed on, fear eating at the edges of her sanity. The flickering light ahead flickered wildly, now strobing like a heartbeat in the darkness. She felt something brush past her cheek, ghostly fingers trailing along her skin. "Lily!" she cried out, eyes wide with terror. Then she halted, frozen in horror as a figure stepped into the light ahead. It wasn't Lily. A boy, gaunt and hollow-eyed, stood there, shimmering as if part of the very light itself, a smile stretching unnaturally across his face. "Come play with us," he said, his voice flat, lifeless. "Where's my daughter?" Clara's throat ached with desperation, the plea clawing its way out. The boy's expression shifted, the smile dissolving into something sinister. "She is fine for now." Clara's heart plummeted. Where was Lily? The shadows loomed ever closer, threatening to swallow her whole. Was it too late to turn back? Join her. He beckoned, his arm outstretched, inviting Clara into the suffocating darkness, and behind her, the echoes of laughter began again, cruel and insistent, blending in with the heartbeat of the house. What truly lay ahead? Would Clara find her daughter, or had she crossed a line from which there was no return? Clara felt like she was trapped in a nightmare. The boyish smile pierced through her, a mask hiding malevolence, yet his voice held an eerie familiarity that twisted her insides. "You're lying. Where's Lily?" Panic clawed at her throat, the words spilling out in a desperate plea. "Come play with us," he repeated, his tone drenched in a mockery that echoed in her ears. The shadows around him thickened, swirling like a dark storm eager to swallow the light. Clara's heart rushed, every instinct screaming at her to flee, but where? She glanced back, the ceiling door now a solid wall of ominous black, closing off any escape. The laughter grew louder, taunting her, suffocating her in its icy grasp. "Lily!" she cried out again, hope clashing with dread. The boy stepped closer, and Clara instinctively took a step back. "You don't want to know what happens if she stays too long," he warned, a glimmer of something terrible shining in his eyes. Her mind raced. What did he mean? Was Lily trapped, caught in this horrific game? Every second she spent here felt like ages, shadows tightening and ready to snatch her away. She had to move. "I need to find my daughter. If you know where she is, tell me," Clara demanded, surprising herself with the ferocity in her voice. The boy tilted his head, the sickening smile returning. "You really want to face what's next? It's much darker than you think." His words were ice in her veins, sending chills down her spine. "I would face anything for her," she cried, feeling the weight of her words press against her chest. Suddenly, the laughter transformed into whispers, soft and sinister. They flowed around her, pulling her deeper into the shadows. "Join us or lose her forever." Panic surged again. Clara's instincts told her to run, to shove past this apparition and find her daughter, but an invisible force kept her rooted in place. The boy stepped closer, his eyes gleaming with a predatory hunger. "Do you want to play? We're always looking for new friends." His voice turned into a haunting sing-song, the shadows behind him swirling faster, merging into grotesque forms that flitted at the edge of her vision. "Get away from me!" she shrieked, but it came out as a whisper, gut-wrenching, and full of defeat. Clenching her fists, Clara forced herself to refocus on the flickering light ahead, the only beacon in this suffocating darkness. What if the boy was right? What awaited her around the next corner? But thoughts of Lily drove her forward, fueled by the fierce love of a mother. She had to push through, no matter the cost. "Come with me, Mom." The shadows coiled tighter around her. "We can show you so much fun." Clara's breath quickened. She leaped toward the light, propelled by a surge of determination mingled with terror. The boy's mocking laughter echoed behind her, a cruel reminder of what was left behind. As she raced ahead, the corridor warped and twisted. Just when she thought she might reach the safety of the light, the ground beneath her seemed to drop. Clara gasped as she stumbled forward, plunging deeper into the corridor, the light flickering wildly as if it sensed her growing despair. "Lily!" she screamed. Her voice trembled, mixing with the sinister echo that chased her. Would she find her daughter hiding in the shadows? Or was this all an illusion, a cruel trick of the house? And then, before Clara could catch her breath, she noticed a small figure drifting toward her from the light, beguilingly familiar yet shrouded in shadow. "Mom?" The voice was soft, but the shadows lunged, surging to consume Clara, and she was left hanging on the precipice of hope. Would it be Lily, or something much darker? As the shadows encircled her, a part of her whispered, "You might regret this." Clara squinted against the bright light, her heart pounding. The figure drew closer, the outline growing more distinct. "Mom?" The voice echoed sweetly, yet it sent a jolt of uncertainty through her veins. "Lily!" she cried out, reaching for the silhouette. But as she stretched out her fingers, the shadows flickered dangerously, threatening to swallow both her and the memory of her daughter whole. "Help me! It's dark here!" the voice pleaded, trembling just like the light. Clara felt her resolve waver as the shadows pulled at her limbs. They whispered words she didn't want to hear, pouring cool dread into her mind. "Stay with us," they hissed. "Your daughter belongs with us, come play." "No! I won't abandon her." Her words rang with defiance, cutting through the mounting fear. But every breath felt like a weight, dragging her closer to the abyss. With a fierce scream, Clara lunged toward the light, ignoring the voice that shifted into a mocking laugh. "You'll regret this choice." "Lily!" she called again, fighting the darkness wrapping around her like a living entity. The small figure was almost within reach now, its features becoming clearer. But the shadows were relentless, dancing just behind her, clawing, writhing, hungry for her despair. "Mom! I'm here!" The voice quivered with urgency, yet there was something strange beneath the surface, an unsettling echo that raised the hairs on Clara's neck. "Hold on, baby. I'm coming." Suddenly, the ground lurched, and Clara stumbled, slamming her palms down as she fought to regain her balance. She could barely hear the remnants of Lily's voice over the cacophony of sinister whispers. "Come join us, you'll never leave." They spun around her, a cyclone of dread. Breathless, she clambered back to her feet, desperation fueling her forward momentum. The corridor felt alive, pulsing with sinister power. She was running through a tunnel of darkness and confusion, every twist and turn a reminder of how far she had fallen into this hell. "Help me, please." Lily's voice came again, echoing off the walls. Clara's heart soared, but it was instantly tethered by fear, doubts creeping in. Was it really her daughter? Or yet another trap crafted by the darkness? Clara's instincts screamed at her to stop, to think, but her love for her daughter overwhelmed her hesitation. Just a little closer, just a little more, she urged herself, straining toward the light, but the shadows closed in, tightening their grip, wrapping around her like a serpent coiling for the kill. A gust of icy air swept past, and she caught a glimpse of the boy from before, peeking from the corner of her eye, his smile an ugly, unsettling grin filled with malice. "Don't believe her!" he shouted, laughter mingling with her pain. "She's lost. Just like you." Clara turned sharply, her heart racing. "Shut up!" she yelled back, her voice ringing bold against the suffocating darkness. Yet with every ounce of strength she used to push through, another wave of despair hit her, making each step feel heavier. Realizing she had no time to lose, Clara clamped her eyes shut, anchoring on the voice that came from the light. "Lily! I'm coming for you!" And suddenly, amidst the swirling shadows, a hand reached out, thin and trembling. Clara stopped, breath caught in her throat. It wasn't her daughter's hand. The fingers were twisted and gnarled, reminiscent of the very shadows that sought to ensnare her. "What have you done?" the hand whispered, dark and haunting. The shadows surged again, screaming with rage, the echoes blending into frantic laughter. The ground trembled beneath her, and Clara felt the whole corridor shift, dizzying her. For a moment, the light flickered, and Clara's heart sank. She had to make a choice. Join us or forever be alone. A debilitating silence stung her ears, freezing her resolve. Clara faced the figure that emerged from the light, fear refracting through her heart. It wasn't T. Lily. Mom helped, the voice fragmented, a chorus of pleas twisting together, leaving her teetering on the edge of insanity. Clara braced herself, trying to make sense of the madness closing in. And then, amidst the rising tide of terror, the darkness offered her a sinister proposition. Play with us, Clara, and you'll never be apart. Her mind raced. The shadows taunted her with visions of a life spent trapped forever, haunting the very corners she once called home. Would she play along, or risk losing everything she had left, what was left for her in this fractured, cursed world? Her heart thundered in her chest as the darkness swirled tighter around her, the corridor now a vortex of despair. Clara's breath came quick and shallow, and panic jabbed at her with icy fingers. She could barely see 2 steps ahead, the light flickering ominously, each pulse a cruel reminder that time was slipping away. Mom helped, the fragmented voices echoed, morphing into a haunting symphony of cries. They overlapped into a dissonant chant, each note a stab in Clara's heart. She could feel their despair, as palpable as the chill creeping up her spine. It seeped into her bones, making her limbs feel heavy, each step a Herculean effort against the tendrils of darkness that wanted to pull her back. She clutched her head, trying to shut out the noise, the laughter, the endless whispers that cascaded from all directions. Don't listen. They're lying. Don't you see? The boy's voice rang out again, cutting through the sinister melody. You don't want to know what's really waiting. With a frantic thought, Clara pushed forward, fighting against the shadows that shrieked and clawed at her. Each echo of Lily's name served as both a beacon and a burden. Was it truly her daughter calling? Or was it a trick, designed to lead her further astray? Just a bit further, she whispered to herself, the desperation wrapping its icy fingers around her resolve. As she pressed on, the hand that had reached out to her before flickered back into view, grotesque and pale. It was joined by another, and then many more, all grasping, reaching, yearning for something beyond their grasp. Join us, we are many. They whispered with seductive hunger. The shadows grew deafening, a cacophony of lost souls, each begging for release from their eternal prison. Clara's heart ached for them, but she can't be swayed. No! She screamed into the void, I want to join you. The ground buckled beneath her, and Clara stumbled again, thrown off balance by a surge of dark energy. The corridor began to pulse wildly, transforming into a labyrinth that twisted and turned, blocking her way. Clara frantically sought for a way out, but every twist seemed to lead her deeper, closer to the heart of the darkness, a place she dreaded might be real. And then she saw it. The flickering light ahead was flickering less now, more like a dying ember than a guiding star. The closer she approached, the more it flickered, as if it, too, were aware of the shadows that prowled around her. Mom! The voice jolted her raw, frantic, and filled with pain. Clara felt her heart clamp shut. It was Lily. It had to be. The shadows thrashed around her, urging her to turn back. Please, help me, I'm scared. Lily! Clara shouted back, clawing her way towards the light. It loomed ahead, more substantial now, almost within her grasp. Just then, something sharp sliced through the air between them. The boy was there again, laughter like broken glass echoing off the walls. You think she's really there? He sneered. How will you know until it's too late? Clara hesitated, the shadows swarming, whispering promises of comfort, of release from her suffering. We can all be together, they urged, voices merging into a sinister lullaby. Join us. They hissed, the words curling around her like smoke. The light flickered again, this time dimming. Clara's heart ached with longing, but fear clawed at her insides. What if this was another trick? What if Lily was already lost? In an instant, a shattering clarity struck her. Clara took a deep breath, grounding herself. You're not getting me. She shouted, every ounce of her being rallying against the shadows. She turned and ran toward the light, her heart pounding like a war drum. But just as she reached the threshold, the ground trembled violently, and the darkness exploded around her. The cacophony of voices morphed into a single terrifying scream that echoed in her ears, tearing at her very soul. Would she pass through the light and find her daughter? Or would the darkness consume her, leaving nothing but whispers and shadows where hope once stood? As she leaped into the remaining glow, the shadows coiled tighter, their last desperate plea ringing in her ears: forever play or forever lose. And at that moment, as Clara dove into the void, she realized one grim truth: in a world where choice is a game, the ultimate cost might not be the prize, but the players who were left behind. Clara plunged into the light, and for a fleeting moment, she felt warmth envelop her like a blanket, wrapping around her despair. But her relief was short-lived. The light flickered once more, a desperate heartbeat that matched the pounding in her chest. She landed hard on the ground, the soft thud of earth beneath her body breaking the serene illusion she thought she had entered. The light was gone, snuffed out, leaving her alone in a vast, empty space. Panic coursed through her veins like fire. "Lily?" she called out, trembling with dread as silence echoed in response. Nothing but an abyss yawned before her, a dark void that seemed to drink in her voice. "Mom," came a distant whisper, a shadow of a sound she couldn't quite place. Clara shot up, scanning her surroundings. The space shimmered with an eerie twilight hue, a twilight that felt uncomfortable and wrong. "Lily!" she shouted again, her voice stronger this time, fueled by desperation. "Where are you?" An overwhelming urge to find her daughter surged within her, overriding the chill of fear creeping back up, but then, a cold breeze swept through, snatching an anguished sob from her lips as it clawed at her skin. Clara squinted into the murk, unsure of what lay beyond. Was it truly an expanse or merely an extension of the darkness that encircled her? Just when she thought all was lost, she caught sight of movement. Shapes began to manifest, figures rising from the shadows like the sunken remnants of broken dreams. They hovered just out of reach, their faces twisted in agony, mouths moving though no sound escaped. Her gut churned at the sight. They were almost familiar, like glimpses of forgotten memories. "Help us," one of the figures croaked, its eyes sunken in void of hope. "We are waiting." "Waiting for what?" Clara demanded, her voice wavering. "For release," another whispered from behind the first, its voice an unsettling murmur. "No," Clara responded, refusing to entertain the darkness closing in around her. "I'm not like you." She turned to run, her heart a synergy of fear and resolve. She didn't come this far to be another lost soul in the abyss, but as she fled, the figures lunged forward, reaching for her with skeletal arms that echoed a slew of desperate pleas. "Join us!" they cried out in unison, a horror show of voices stabbing at her senses. "You can find her! We can all be free!" The shadows crawled closer, an oppressive weight pressing against her, and for a moment, Clara faltered, fear gripping her heart. "Lily!" she yelled again, hoping for a sign, a spark of her daughter's light in this eerily dim reality. Suddenly, a noise erupted, a cacophony of sirens blaring in the distance that tore through her turmoil like a knife. The figures recoiled, their forms wavering as if they were made of mist. Clara seized the moment and darted forward, propelled by that piercing hope, but the closer she got to the next wall of shadow, the louder the sirens grew, warping into a chilling laughter that echoed in her ears. The air thickened, and Clara could feel them reaching out, both enticing and threatening. "Help us, Clara," one of them hummed, its voice now sonorous yet tainted. "Your daughter, she's already ours." With a rapid intake of breath, panic squeezed her. Was Lily truly lost, tangled in the web of darkness forever? "No!" Clara shot back, her voice rising above the chaos. "I won't let you have her." As she propelled herself towards the shrill sirens, the ground shuddered beneath, the shadows tangling around her legs, trying to pull her down. She pushed back against the encroaching gloom, each step a struggle of willpower against the tendrils that claimed her. With one last run, Clara burst through the shadows and into a shimmering light, but as she stumbled through, the laughter dimmed and transformed into an echoing whisper. "It won't end, Clara, the game has just begun." What would she face now? A new reality? Or had she awakened something more terrifying? The light flickered again, pulsating softly, but shadows loomed behind her, eager and waiting, and then, just out of her reach, she heard it. Again the soft murmur that chilled her to her core, unmistakably her daughter's voice. Would she answer it? Or would the darkness drown her in despair once more? Clara blinked against the flickering light, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The shadows loomed ominously behind her, stretching like dark claws eager to snatch her back. The pulse of the light below glinted like a deceitful star, promising safety while the abyss threatened to swallow her whole. "Lily!" she shouted again, desperation clawing at her throat. The light faded and surged as if responding to her cries, casting a ghostly glimmer that barely illuminated the edges of her surroundings. And then, she saw a figure moving gracefully within the light. Clara's heart raced. "Lily!" she cried, her voice breaking the fragile calm. The figure halted. It was a young girl, standing still and silent, her face obscured. "Mom?" came the delicate echo, unmistakable yet eerie, like a soft wind vibrating through the trees. Clara reached out instinctively. "Lily! Is that you? Please, come toward me." But the girl didn't move. Instead, she looked over her shoulder, a flicker of fear crossing her features. "You shouldn't be here, you must leave." Every instinct in Clara screamed to follow her daughter, yet she hesitated. "What do you mean? I can't leave without you. It's a trap." The girl yelled suddenly, her small hands gesturing wildly. "They're watching, waiting for you to find them." Clara's resolve wavered as a dreadful stillness enveloped the air. Shadows glided closer, curling and twisting, growing into grotesque forms. The laughter and unsettling melody drifted from the darkness, a chilling reminder of the figures she had encountered moments ago. "Help us!" They beckoned again, their voices now a haunting chorus. "Help us and you will find her." "No!" Clara shouted, stepping back. "I want to help you." The shadows stretched, eager and insistent, clawing at the edges of her consciousness, whispering secrets meant to ensnare her. She sensed danger lurking, brewing like a storm just beyond the veil of the light. "Mom!" Lily cried, her voice warped and distant, fading into the wind. "Mom, you can't trust them." With panic surging in her chest, Clara turned. "Lily!" But the girl was gone, replaced by a wall of shifting shadows that pulsed with an indescribable hunger, beckoning her forward. A decision loomed before her, terrifying in its simplicity. Would she abandon her fight and turn back, hoping to find Lily elsewhere? Or would she plunge deeper into the darkness, risking all to save her? Clara's hands trembled at her sides, sweat pooling on her brow. The oppressive whispering pressed around her, a net tightening with each heartbeat. She could feel them, the lost ones, their lost hopes merging together in a hushed prayer. "Join us in the light, Clara," a voice cooed, dripping with false sweetness. "All can be set right. Just take our hand now," she screamed. The shadows surged forward, and Clara felt them brush against her, like ice against her skin. Still reeling from Lily's absence, she glanced back toward the light, but her heartbeat began to slow, and the laughter grew louder, mocking her despair. Clara pressed her eyes shut, summoning every ounce of strength within her. She would not succumb to this desperation. With a sudden rush of will, she dashed forward, breaking free of their grasp. The shadows recoiled, howling in fury. Clara's heart raced as she forced herself toward the spot where Lily had faded from view, not stopping until she found a barricade separating light from darkness, a thin thread of hope hanging in the balance. "Lily!" she cried out, her voice desperate and raw, just as the shadows recoiled in a way that felt almost like remorse. But deep within the darkness, a figure solidified once more, blocking her path. "You can't run from fate," it whispered, eyes glinting hot with malice, the edges of its form flickering, unstable. Clara's breath caught in her throat. The figure began to dissolve back into the shadows, but not before it let slip a chilling proclamation: "She is no longer yours. Choose wisely, or lose everything you love." What choice would Clara make? Would she risk everything to venture deeper into the shadows, or would she uncover the horrifying truth lurking just beyond her reach? The flickering light pulsed like a heartbeat, both inviting and insidious. "Lily!" she screamed, ready to throw herself into the depths of uncertainty. As the darkness throbbed, it laughed in a sinister tone, a harbinger of liberation or despair. Clara knew one thing: the harder she fought, the closer the shadows drew. What awaited her in the room of whispers? Only time would tell. Clara's heart thundered in her chest as she faced the looming darkness. Shadows danced like phantoms, twisting, tangling, beckoning her closer. The whispers surged, a tide of despair promising freedom if she surrendered, promising to reunite her with Lily if only she took their hands. But Clara knew better. Each echo was a trap, each invitation a subtle snare. "Lily!" she called again, her voice straining against the oppressive air. The darkness laughed, a chorus of voices that sent chills racing down her spine. Clara felt sweat trickling down her back as she took a step towards the flickering light, an anchor in this storm of terror. She could not turn back. "You can't have her!" Clara shouted into the void, each word a battle cry against the suffocating despair that threatened to overwhelm her. From the shadows, a figure moved the girl, eyes wide and glistening with fear. "Mom, listen!" Lily's voice came as a soft, haunting whisper, barely audible over the cacophony of madness. Clara stepped closer to the edge of the light, heart racing with desperation. "Lily! Please, where are you? We need to get out of here." The shadows clutched at her ankles, whispering soft threats that promised calm and ease if she simply surrendered. "Stay with us, Clara," they hissed. "Stay and you'll never be alone." "No!" Clara screamed, forcing herself forward, her sight fixed on the spot where Lily had vanished. "I won't leave you. I won't let this happen." Suddenly, the shadows parted just enough for her to catch a glimpse of a small girl, silhouetted by a soft glow. It was Lily, trembling yet standing firm, her small hand extended toward Clara. "Mom, help me. Don't listen to them." Clara lunged forward, reaching out. "I'm coming, Lily." The shadows writhed, their whispering voices morphing into shrieks of rage as she broke through their grip. Each heartbeat pounded in her ears like an iron drum. Behind her, Clara could feel the darkness clawing, just behind her, desperate to reclaim their prize. "Don't you see?" echoed the boyish voice, taunting and sharp, revealing the truth Clara had fought against. "You'll lose her. It's already too late. The shadows will take her." With a determination that felt like burning steel in her veins, Clara turned her back on the mocking darkness. "I'd rather face the abyss than live in a lie." She surged toward the flicker of light, pushing past the last remnants of shadows clawing at her, shrieking in fury as if the deeper she pressed into their territory, the more they could lose. "Mom!" Lily cried out again, her voice echoing like a siren against the crashing waves of despair. She finally crossed the threshold, breaking into the light, feeling warmth envelop her limbs like a soft embrace. The light surged, solidifying around them like a barrier against the encroaching darkness. "Lily!" Clara cried, fingers outstretched, and to her relief, the warm clasp of her daughter's hand closed around hers. In that moment, everything else faded. The shadows shrieked, the whispers died, leaving a grave silence that enveloped them like a heavy cloak. "I thought I lost you. I was so scared," Clara gasped, pulling her daughter close, relief flooding through her. "It's okay, Mom. I'm here." Lily's eyes sparkled, a beacon of innocence shining through the darkness. But then, even in the security of their embrace, the shadows recoiled and shifted, dark figures swimming at the edges of the light. Clara felt dread crawl back down her spine. They were relentless, they wouldn't let them go without a fight. "Leave us alone!" Clara shouted into the consuming darkness, holding Lily tighter. But inside, there was one last powerful whisper, a promise of frightening magic: "Join us, Clara, or continue to suffer. I won't choose." Clara's voice was steady now, fierce against the shadows that sought to break them. "I will fight for my daughter, and I will never surrender to fear." A pulse vibrated through the light, igniting the room with radiant luminescence. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in "you will never know" agony as if they were being torn apart by the cohesive power of Clara's fierce love. In that moment, Clara understood. Love was her weapon, it was the shield that separated her from the shadows, the very foundation of her unyielding spirit. With a rush of courage, Clara forged ahead, dragging Lily with her as they stepped boldly into the flickering brightness, pushing through the threshold where shadows could not follow. With each step, the darkness dissolved into nothingness, drawn away by the strength of their bond. "Mom, is it over?" Lily whispered as they emerged into the light, a breathtaking expanse that shimmered like dawn on fresh snow. I think we're free," Clara breathed, tears spilling over, mixing with the joy of finally escaping the darkness that had held them captive. Together, they stood hand in hand as the shadows screamed their last desperate cries, echoing far behind them. It was a new beginning, a rebirth. Clara looked down at her daughter, the embodiment of hope that blazed through the remnants of despair. "We will always choose each other, Lily," she stated softly, and in that moment, Clara realized that no matter where they went from here, the curse of the home would not follow them, for they had unmasked its heart, revealing the power of love that could never be extinguished. "Let us go home," she said, a smile breaking through like sunlight on a cloudy day. As the warmth of the light enveloped them, Clara took a step forward, leaving behind the shadows for good. The house may have demanded souls before, but it would never demand theirs again. They were free, and the future awaited, bright and unafraid. Now, it's time for you to make a choice. Don't let your fears hold you back. You need to subscribe now to follow our journey through more spine-chilling stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions, and tell us what you think about Clara and Lily's journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Remember, only true fans know how important it is to stand with us through these thrilling adventures. Let us go.